Hi, welcome to your virtual orientation for your 265 RLS Jay Flight SLX by Jayco. We're going to start the orientation on the outside of the RV, and we're going to begin at the front. First thing we're going to talk about is your stabilization jacks. They're located in the four corners of the trailer. You should make sure you have the RV fully leveled, and then these are snugged up to the ground. On some occasions, depending on how level the ground is that you're camping on, you may need to use some additional blocking. From there, we'll scan up to your front pass-through storage compartment. It also allows you access from the pass-through compartment to the underbed storage. You'll also see that you can find in this front compartment your manual crank for your front tongue jack, electric tongue jack, and your manual crank for the previously mentioned stabilization jacks. As we continue around the front, we will come to your battery storage area. In this particular case, we have it set up specifically for a customer with 2 batteries. Directly in front of that, we have your 30-pound dual 30-pound propane storage, complete with a crossover regulator. And what the crossover regulator will do, as you'll see at the moment, the handle on the regulator is pointing to this 30-pound bottle. Once this 30-pound bottle drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, and that is determined by the regulator itself, and we are unable to adjust that. Once this drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, the regulator will automatically cross over and draw propane from the other 30-pound bottle, independent of where this handle is pointing. So on those cold nights, when you were camping and you used to have to get out in the middle of the night and switch bottles over manually, you don't have to do that. So if we go directly in front of your propane storage, we will see that we have your electric tongue jack. Now previously, when talking about the front pass-through storage compartment, I made mention of your manual crank for the electric tongue jack. In order to utilize the manual crank, we would need to remove this rubber stopper, and you can crank your tongue up and down at that point. Also, we have electric functioning, as well as a handy loading light if you're trying to hitch up at night. Something else we need to talk about at the front is your safety breakaway switch. The loop end of the safety breakaway switch is tightened up to the tow vehicle, and if in the event that the tow vehicle becomes separated from the RV, this cable will pull the pin from the safety breakaway switch, engaging your trailer brakes. Also, it's good to note that at times during hitch up, this can be pulled and not pulled completely free of the housing, but still engaging the brakes themselves. So if you find that you go to pull away after a hitch up and the brakes are engaged, always come and check here first. From here, we'll make our way along the outside of the RV to the other side of your pass-through storage compartment. And before we move on from here, I just want to make note of the latching system to hold the doors up on this particular RV are magnetic. So very easy, especially with one-hand operation. Continue along the outside, come to another storage compartment, and that's all this one is, storage, but you never have too much of that. Directly above this storage compartment, we have your outdoor shower, as well as your tank flush inlet. You connect your garden hose from either your home or from the campground to this tank flush valve, and this will help clean out the black tank. Next door to that, we'll see your city water connection. Your city water connection is the input point for your fresh water when you're at a campground or if you're at home. This is where you connect your garden hose, and it would pressurize your water system so you can use it much the way you would your water at home. Take a look at the outside access for your hot water heater. Of note here, we have your drain and drain plug or cap in this case, and your pressure relief valve. If you're ever removing this drain plug or cap, always make sure you open the pressure relief valve first. Otherwise, this will shoot out at you like a rocket. Let's continue along the outside. And as we move, we'll make note of the main input for your cable or satellite TV. This is where you would hook up your cable from the campground or from the home, and then you can utilize it throughout the trailer at the different connection points. As we move around to the back, we'll make note of your roof access via the rear ladder, as well as the pre-wired camera body for a rear view camera. This can be viewed from inside the tow vehicle via a head unit that will allow you to look at the back of the RV while you're driving. This can be purchased separately. If I drop down below here, we'll notice your 30 amp cord storage that you can connect to campground power. I will note that when camping at home or setting up at home, you may not have a 30 amp plug on the outside of your house. Very likely you do not. So in that instance, we also provide you with a block that will convert the 30 amp plug-in to a 15 amp plug-in. We come out underneath the awning, we'll make note of the speakers at either end. They can be used with the stereo inside the RV. Before we head inside, let's talk about a few things that we see underneath your awning here. First, we'll mention the output for your cable or satellite, as well as a mounting location and GFCI'd 120 volt plug. Also, directly beside here, we have your fill point or inlet for your freshwater tank. You can put the garden hose in here, fill up your tank, and if you're ever going camping where there's no water, you can use the onboard water pump to pressurize your water system and use it much the same as you would your water at home. We'll move over to the venting for your refrigerator. In order for your refrigerator to operate properly, it is important that there is maximum airflow through the vents. So please do not obstruct this venting. And the last thing we'll mention is the exhaust for the furnace. Yeah, it does say that it is hot. However, every time it's out underneath your awning, I like to make special mention, as there is a larger chance that you'll come in contact with it. Let's step inside and see what else we can find. First thing we'll do is turn around and face the door. And as we do that, you'll see that one of the first things that we come across as we come in the door is the unit's fire extinguisher. Very important to know where it is. I really like this location as well. That way, if you're using any propane or cooking outside, or if you're cooking inside and the oven or stovetop provided, the fire extinguisher is close at hand. If I pivot and try not to squeak my shoes too much for you, we'll notice that we have your carbon monoxide propane alarm or detector. Now there is a button on here that if you press it, it will test the system to make sure it's functioning properly. If you press that button, you'll hear a series of loud beeps. This light will, I believe, go to red, and then it will go back to green and stay green when it is functioning properly. I would recommend checking every 6 months at the same time that you put new batteries in your smoke detector, which is located in the ceiling of the main area of the RV. Whenever you change the batteries in the smoke detector, which most recommendations would be every 6 months, as it's easy to remember, and you're always can make sure you have fresh batteries. 6 months during a daylight savings time, whenever you change your clocks, change your batteries, and come in here and test this. Obviously, if you're not camping into the fall months, you may not be able to test it twice a year, but before you put it away, just test everything and make sure everything's functioning properly, or have someone do it for you. Also, just inside the door, we have your indication panel. This will give you your battery level, the level of your fresh, black, and gray water tanks, as well as switching for your water pump, your water heater on gas, and your water heater on electric. Beside there, we also have switching for the main lights for the RV, as well as your awning light. And below here, we can find switching for your awning itself and your slide. Always make sure you run the slide fully out and in to make sure it stays watertight. Take a look at the rear window of your RV. You'll notice that it is an emergency exit. In order to utilize the emergency exit, you pull the handle all the way in and over like you would a regular window, and then simply slide the screen. It's pretty simple. Really just a normal operating window that slides open that you can also use to escape to safety in an emergency. So we continue into the main area of the RV. I'll just quickly point out the smoke detector that I had mentioned previously. And then we'll take a minute to talk about your range top and oven. As you can see, before I did anything with the range top, the very first thing I did was open the lid. It's important to do that, as if you try to light any of these burners with the lid closed, there is a very good chance that you're going to shatter the glass. Nobody wants to do that. So always make sure this is open before use. And if you've been cooking a lot on here, make sure everything is cooled down before you close the top. But do make sure you close this top before you travel or move your RV. So to light your top burners, you have to turn the knob to the light position. The flame lines up with the arrow. Then after you've done that, you turn the sparker. So the same thing can be done for all three top burners. The stove operates much the same. Always make sure you light with the door open. Turn it to the light position. The only difference we're going to see here is we're going to press and hold, and we have to continue to hold this, so it takes 2 hands, which at the moment I don't have. So you press and hold that in, and while you're still holding that, we turn the sparker, and that will ignite the burner in your oven. And if we drop down just a little bit from here, we will see we have your power center or load center for the RV. Inside here, you'll see some breakers, just like you'd see in your house. And we'll see some fuses like you might see in your vehicle. And both operate much the same. These fuses do have an LED light or red light that will come on if there is something not functioning properly with the circuit. If you ever have any interruption in power to any of your to anything really, it's a good idea to come here and take a look and see if this may be the source of your problem. And all you need to do is flip the breaker on and off. Sometimes they look like they're on, they might not always be. So if you find that, say, your microwave isn't working and there's a plug here designed for your microwave, it says this breaker is for the microwave and it's not working and it looks like it's on, just flip it on, flip it off anyways. Sometimes they'll trip and they still can look like they are on and working properly. And of course, if you do not feel comfortable opening this or doing anything in it, then I would not do that. Only do anything like that if you feel comfortable. As we move a little bit to our left here, we'll come to your refrigerator. The refrigerator is able to operate on gas or electricity. On auto mode, it will automatically switch between gas or electricity, choosing electricity primarily if it is present. If electricity isn't present, it will then switch to your propane system and work off the gas. Now you can have the refrigerator work on gas anyways, and so if we do that, we'll switch this to work on gas. And I just want to show you, and I can't remember if I actually turned the bottle or opened the valves in the bottles, so this may actually just fire right up. I'm hoping I didn't though, so I can show you what it looks like if it is unable to light. So we will come back to that, and I will show you what happens if the fridge is unable to light initially. Maybe. So while we're waiting, we'll take a look at your thermostat. This is a capacitive touch button, meaning that it's not mechanical. It doesn't need to be a hard press or anything. So we lightly touch and it'll cycle through the different options. We have your fan on high and low, your AC, and your furnace. One thing I'll note about the furnace, if you run the furnace and this is on the high setting, it will also run the reefer fan or your fan for your AC. So the only way this system thinks it can get a high fan is by using the furnace fan and the AC at the same time, which is fine. It doesn't pump out cold air, it just blows air, but it can be very loud. So if your reefer fan is coming on and you've got the furnace on and you don't want that, then go to your thermostat and go to your fan settings and just make sure it's on auto, and then that should fix that problem for you. Okay, now we were talking about your refrigerator. As it turns out, I didn't turn on the bottles or open the valves, so this is something you could see. You came in, you got in here quick, you wanted to make sure you had got the fridge cold as fast as you could so you could get food in there. You turn it on and then you come in and it's flashing like this. What that means is it was unable to light. A lot of times what the problem is exactly what I said. You just forgot to open the valves at the front. If you did do that and that wasn't the case, the second thing that is often the culprit is simply not enough pressure built up in the lines. So what I would do is come here, switch it off, go outside, make sure that my valves are open fully. If they are, come back in, give it a minute, but come back in and try again. What you will find if the valves are open is most times it will light. If it doesn't at that point, I would suggest giving us a call and we can give you a hand to service the unit. Take a brief moment to mention the couch and the dining area offer additional sleeping. The couch will fold down flat. I'm not going to do that now. It's pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. Grab it from the front, pull it out, and it will fold down flat. A little difficult to do with one hand. You can do it, but it's clunky and loud, so I won't do it right now. And this dining table operates much the same as they have for many years. You can remove the legs, you can store the legs, and then the tabletop will sit on these ledges on either side and offer you a additional place to sleep for any guests. So as we take a moment to talk about your stereo, I want you to remember that we had mentioned the speakers on the awning. Well, those speakers can be used with this stereo system by using the two zones. We have zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 2 is the inside of the RV, or sorry, my apologies, zone 1, which I was actually pointing at, is the inside the RV, and zone 2 is what will utilize your awning speakers that I mentioned earlier. The stereo also offers you Bluetooth connectivity along with USB charging, HDMI connectivity, and an auxiliary port. You're also able to watch DVDs on this. For your TV itself, make this a little bit brighter for you. We will notice there's a light on here. This is a signal booster for your antenna. However, if you're using cable or satellite, this signal booster will mess up your signal. So if you hook up your cable or satellite and you come in and the signal's not any good, try turning this off and scanning for channels again, and it should help. Before you check out your bathroom and head into the bedroom, I want to make one more mention of your heating and cooling system. Specifically, I want to talk about your AC. One thing we'll notice about the air conditioning is you can either operate it with these baffles closed, which will force the air to these ports that are located throughout the trailer, or with the baffles open, the majority of the air will fall right here, which is kind of a handy feature if you're cooking and generating a lot of heat in this area. So as we step in, you'll see you have a nice large corner shower. And as we turn the corner, we find the unit's GFCI plug. What this plug does is carry other plugs in the RV on its load side, and anything on the load side of this plug will not work if the plug is tripped. You know the plug is tripped if that red light is on. So if you find that you're having some power issues at any receptacles, you come in here, you see the red lights on, you press the reset button on the top, it's black, it will reset the plug, and you should find that your other receptacles are working properly at that point. As we turn, we enter the bedroom. We'll make note of your underbed storage that is nicely supported, so it's not as hard to lift with that heavy mattress on there. And we will also make note of your emergency exit. This emergency exit can be utilized by pressing down on the black tab, pushing the red handle over and out, bringing the handle perpendicular to the trailer and pushing it all the way out until it's fully out of the RV. Then you can grab the red tab of the screen. Removing the screen, you can then escape to safety. Now as we step back, I will also make note of the TV in the bedroom. This is not always a standard option, but they do always come set up and pre-wired with a power and an output for your cable or satellite, as well as marked with a mounting position for your mounting bracket. We're going to turn and make our way back into the bathroom here. We're going to spend a bit of time talking about your hot water tank. At the moment, you'll see that these valve handles are pointing in towards your tank. What that means is your water will flow up your piping, and instead of continuing up through here, it's going to flow into the tank. So right now, this is set up to be used as normal. If you want hot water, whatever, this is how it should look. Now, when we winterize, now you can do this yourself, or we can do it for you. It just depends on how comfortable you are. But when you do winterize, you do not need or want to pump your hot water tank full of antifreeze. It'd just be a waste. There's a drain plug on the hot water tank that you can use to drain any water out of the tank. So what we do is we turn these valve handles, and you'll see that they are now in line with the piping. That will indicate that now this is going to go up and loop around. So we've created a loop, and it's going to go back, bypassing the hot water tank. Now you can run antifreeze through the lines and not have to fill the tank with several jugs of antifreeze. In order to access the hot water tank, I removed this panel with 2 Red Robertson screws. Pretty easy to access. So we walk back to the main area of the RV. I'm going to show you the water pump. We had mentioned the water pump when we talked about fresh water. Now again, I've previously undone the 1 Red Robertson screw holding this panel in. And we'll shed some light on the situation and take a closer look at your water pump. So in here you'll see there's some heating ducts or some heating lines that we have to kind of lift out of the way, but that's okay. The most important thing to show you in here is the valve itself right there, same as I showed you on the hot water tank. And at the moment, this valve is pointing up and down, so in line with this tube here, and where that goes is to your freshwater tank. So the way this is set up now, you will be drawing water from your freshwater tank if you turn your water pump on. Why would you draw water from your freshwater tank? Well, you would do that in any instance where you'd be camping and want some fresh water, either for drinking or for dishes or showering, but do not have a fresh water supply. So if you're not at a campground or you're not camping anywhere that basically has a garden hose that you can hook up to your city water connection, you're probably going to want to fill your freshwater tank and make sure that system is functioning properly before you head out on your trip. So in order to, the reason why they have this valve, is if we turn it this direction and now it's pointing in line with this tube, what that tube does is allow you to draw liquid somewhere with the pump, from somewhere with the pump. And that somewhere, since we've used this for winterizing, would be a jug of antifreeze. So you put this in your jug of antifreeze, make sure the valve handle is turned the way I've shown you, and then you can turn on your pump and you should be good to run the antifreeze through the system. Now obviously there's a little more to winterizing than that. You have to make sure you get the water out of all the fixtures and faucets, etc. But this is how we would do that with the water pump. So we'll turn that back into summer mode or to dry camping mode. Okay, I'll turn off the extra light here. I think I covered pretty much everything. Hope you found our virtual orientation informative and helpful. If there's anything that you needed more information on, you can give us a call and we can answer any questions you may have so that your camping experience can be a great one. Thank you.